Hello again. Come to the right place. I'm here to help you with all your needs. Whatever you desire, I can fulfill. Just kidding. It's me, Mark. Here to talk about something for about 10 to 15 minutes. About 15 to 20 minutes, as it would seem. It's a lovely Monday. After a long day's work, it's approximately 7:50 p.m. Hopefully that means the traffic will be a little less. You'll be able to hear my voice instead of the roaring muffler of a Toyota Celica. I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today. I've been talking mostly about what I want to do, business strategies are. Today I want to go a little bit to the past, talk a little bit about some things that have been interesting to me previously. As I think I mentioned in episode 1, I used to take a bunch of philosophy courses. So the idea of thinking and spending time in your own thoughts, trying to figure out what things mean, purpose of life, all those good, interesting, intellectual adventures, is something I used to do. Haven't done a lot in recent times, but every now and then I have a good thought, a good thing. Math and philosophy are very related. So I took a math degree in university. And math and philosophy are actually very similar in nature, where they both spend a lot of time breaking things down into what they would call constituent parts. Big fancy word that just means the smallest indivisible pieces of each other. What are the things that make up the other things that we believe? So, a lot of famous mathematicians throughout history have also written a lot of philosophical things. Euler and Isaac Newton. I'm sure there's a few other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. And it's kind of fascinating. I think a lot of people don't realize that because they are seemingly very different. Math. It's all rigorous and about numbers and calculating. The other one's much more non-concrete. It deals with metaphysical things that don't actually exist. You can't calculate on philosophical quantities. But there is one thing that really ties them together, and I think this is probably what brings mathematicians and philosophers together. It's actually the idea of definitions. Both mathematicians and philosophers are very keen for a good definition. Now, what do I mean by a definition? It's something that you use to describe a concept or a word. Obviously, most people know what the definition of a word is. You go to a dictionary. They'll have a collection of 10,000 words and 10,000 definitions. And that's great, and that's similar. That's the right idea. So what philosophers and mathematicians do is they do that. They make definitions for complex ideas, operations. And then they use those to come up with more complex definitions and operations. It's been my personal belief that definitions are like a secret pact to life, in a sense. I believe that if you're good at defining things, it will help you understand yourself, and it will help you communicate to other people. To give you an idea of what I'm thinking about. If you're able to define things to yourself, that means that you can explain them in words or write them down, which means that when you go back and question yourself, if you're breaking it down, you will have copied, you will have a very specific definition of the thing you were thinking about. Likewise, if you're talking with another person and they don't seem to be on the same page as you, you can be like, hey, I'm saying this is what I mean by this. It's a very specific definition of what you're talking about, which allows you to be on the same page as the other person that you're talking about. You might find that they are thinking about something completely different when you say a certain word or phrase or even a concept, which in my experience has led to many disagreements that I've had in my life. So I just thought I'd, try and explore that thought a bit, maybe spark some discussion. It's, my view is obviously not necessarily the correct one, but it's the one that I'm subscribed to, and by virtue of that, it's the one that I believe other people should also subscribe to, because if I didn't believe that, then it wouldn't be a very convincing belief to me. So what's an example of a good definition? A good definition is something that's specific. It's something that describes the thing you're talking about, and only the thing you're talking about, not something else. And it doesn't describe more than something. So conversely, a bad definition then is one that is a little too generic, that could be used for multiple situations or words or concepts. Let me give you an example. A good definition is 1 + 1 equals 2. Classic mathematician. Well, the classic one is 2 + 2 equals 4, but I don't like that one because 1 + 1 equals 2 is a little more basic. The idea that 1 + 1 equals 2, most people just take as a fact. They don't think it's a definition. They think it's reality. In my worldview, and the worldview of many mathematicians, it's not a reality. It is a fact. Something that we use to describe something we see in real life. When you take one thing and you add another thing to it, then you come up with a new quantity of things. That quantity is something that we call 2. It doesn't have to be 2. There's no reason that it is 2, but 2 is what we've decided on as a society. So that definition, 1 + 1 equals 2, very simple, which is why mathematicians love it. But it is nonetheless a definition. It's saying if I have one thing and I put another thing together with it, I now have a new thing that is not the same thing. It's very specific. It says you can take one thing, put them together to make 2 things. You can't possibly mix that up with anything else. So that's a good definition. A bad definition would be something, let's say, like the definition of a car is a thing that drives and has 2 wheels. Well, that's not quite correct, is it? Because you could have a carriage which has wheels and drives. It's not a car. You could have a scooter that has wheels and it drives. It says it's not a car. An electric bicycle, now we got 2 wheels, has a motor of sorts, battery motor. It drives. It's not a car. So this definition, not ideal. The reason for its failure is because it's not specific enough. Now, it's very difficult to get very specific with very complex things. You'll find that it is quite difficult to actually define a car. Different people could have different definitions for it. You could say a car is something with a combustion engine. And that was true for a long time. And now it's no longer true. Because now you have electric cars. Still cars. But perhaps they should be in something else. That's a little bit out of the scope of this video. I want to go back a bit. I want to say that I inserted something in there, a little bit clever, a little bit sneaky. And what I said was, I said a good definition is one that's specific and a bad definition is one that's not specific. Now I've inserted in those statements my own worldview. What I have done is I've said that good has a certain definition and bad has a certain definition. There are the things that I want and the things that I don't. So the concept of good and bad are also definitions, are also things that need to be defined. And in my experience, something that has always been very clear to me from my work, and something that I've believed very firmly, is that people do not have good understandings of what good and bad mean. At a very basic level, good is something that aligns with what you want, bad is something that does not align with what you want. And I think that is probably the way that most people use good and bad, because they are very difficult terms to define. But the problem I see is that nobody actually understands that they're doing that, because when they say something is good, that means that it aligns with their worldview. It's something that is so close to who they are that to disagree with them causes them strife, because it's something so close to them. They're saying this is a good thing, and that means it aligns with me, and I need to think good about myself. So if you disagree with that, you're disagreeing with what my worldview is, and that causes me anger. It causes me distress. So my whole point is, I do believe that things should be defined, and if more people were more specific about their definitions, the world would be a happier place. I do truly believe that. It's kind of always been one of the things, my core beliefs, I suppose, is that people just should spend a little bit more time thinking, defining the things that they believe, and there would be a lot less arguments. That's really all I got for today. There are so many different applications of this in my life. Me and my wife, for example, we often disagree, believe it or not. We have to disagree on things, and a lot of the times all it is a misunderstanding of what the other person is talking about. So maybe we'll get angry. Someone will say something and they'll be like, the other person could get offended and say, you said this thing and I felt this way. And then the other person would be like, well, I didn't mean that, what you're feeling. So I'm very sorry, I should have told you that this is what I was thinking. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, that resolves the conflict. It really is that simple in my mind. It also helps you with yourself, because when you have a good definition for what you're doing, you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. You can explain to other people what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing. That anytime they question it, you just say, oh no, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it. And it has 2 huge benefits, which is 1, you might teach them something, and it allows you to defend yourself in the event that someone criticizes you. 2, you could be wrong. And if you're wrong, well, now you figure out where you're wrong, because you've explained your reasoning and why you're doing what you're doing. And then they come in and say, oh, well, this is where I disagree with you. And you get to assess, are they right or am I right? Or are we both right? Or do we have some kind of equal ground we can come to? It's fucking fantastic. Honestly, if you haven't done it before, take a night, go through some of your core beliefs, see definitions to them. It's a very enlightening process. It teaches you a lot about yourself. I think that'll be it for tonight. It's been a long day. long week. The year's coming to a close. I'm excited for Black Friday sales. Like a big shopping list. Perhaps we'll splurge a little bit more than our budget, but we'll see. Let me know if this is something that is interesting to you, or if it's too hard to follow in this kind of format. Kind of my fear is that it's way too abstract and difficult to grasp without some kind of visuals or graphics or writing on a screen or something like that. But we'll see. We shall see. Only time can tell. Thank you guys. Have a great night. See you next time.